All right, good morning, everyone. I think I'm going to get going just because it's 11:05, and that's what the thing says. Let me put on my video so you guys can see me. I haven't done my hair yet today, so I'm going to look a little messy, and that's okay. It's summer. Okay, so we are just going to kind of go over the basics of this week. What we're going to be doing this week is weather, fronts, air masses, things like that. Really like the big stuff in weather. We're not going to be doing station models or anything. It's really going to be air masses, fronts, and like air pressure. So how does the air move in the atmosphere? Okay. So what that's going to look like today, Monday, 7/20, is we're just going to talk a little bit today on air masses. And then I'm going to go over this week's project. This week's project is another, I don't know what's going on with my hair. This week's project is another web quest. I feel like web quests are pretty self-guided. They're pretty easy for you to kind of latch onto and just move forward with them. This one's a little bit longer than the ones we did for matter and density, but not that much longer. It just has a lot of links in it, but each link is like 1 to 3 questions. So you're not going to be doing a bunch of links. It's just 1 to 3 questions per link. But we're going to get into that later when I show that to you. Okay, so let's just kind of talk about air masses. What is an air mass? Why are they important? How do they bring in weather? We'll just talk about that stuff here. Okay. So this doesn't transfer very well. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen on that instead. Oh, hey. Growing pains. Everyone's learning something new every day. Okay, so I'm opening that up. I am going to share my screen. And the window I'm going to share is go entire screen. Let's see what happens here. Sorry about this. Okay. So So this is what we're going to be starting with. Starting with air masses. And now, hey, it's a PowerPoint. You get all the fun, fancy little transitions. So an air mass. What is an air mass? Okay. What is the definition of an air mass? An air mass is a large body of air with similar characteristics throughout. So it's basically like a big bunch of air, like a big bubble of air. And inside this bubble, all of that air is basically the same. It's got the same temperature mostly. It's got the same moisture content mostly. Just a big bubble of air with the same characteristics. Okay? Air masses are classified based on their temperature and the amount of moisture that they have. Okay, so really when we're talking about temperature, we're not talking about like this air mass is exactly 73 degrees. No, we're saying this air mass is warm. That's the temperature. Okay, or this air mass is cold. That's the temperature. Okay, and the amount of moisture that it has, right? Is it a air mass that has a lot of moisture? Is it really humid? Is it really gross and sticky inside this air mass? Or is it really dry air? Or air that really dries you out, really like dries out your plants. Okay. Is it moist? Is it dry? Okay. Check something out. All right. Air masses get their characteristics just like you do, based on where they form, right? You get your characteristics, you get your personality based on a couple of things, right? You get your personality. It could be genetic, so you could get it from your parents through their genes, but you also get your characteristics based on where you grow up, right? You guys are growing up here in White Plains, New York. People who grow up in Southern California might have a different personality than people that grow up here in New York. People that grow up in England have a different personality. They have different characteristics than people who grow up here in New York. People in China have a different personality than people here in New York. Okay, so just like you do, you get your characteristic based on where you have formed, right? Where you are growing up. Air masses have the same thing. They get their temperature and they get their moisture content based on where they grow up, based on where they form. Okay? So, we got a bunch of air masses. And those air masses have different abbreviations. Okay? The letters that we use, the abbreviations that we use to classify air masses are the following. Okay? We have C. Notice this is a lowercase c. Okay? We have M, again, also lowercase m. And then we have capital T, capital P, and capital A. Okay? The lowercase letters are describing its moisture content. And the uppercase letters, the T, P, and A, are describing its temperature. Okay? So that first one there, remember this is moisture content. That first word, C, stands for continental. Okay? Continental, if you think about a continent, it's made of land. Is land very wet? No, not compared to the ocean. The ocean's very, very wet. Land is pretty dry. So a continental air mass is going to be a dry air mass. The air mass that forms above land is going to be dry because it's above land, right? We compare that with our M air mass, our maritime air mass. Maritime comes from the Latin mar. Mar means sea or ocean. So maritime air mass, this is an air mass that forms above an ocean, above water. This is going to be a wet, moist air mass because it's forming above water. So it's evaporating all of that water from the ocean. It's going to be a very moist air mass. The air mass that forms above the continent doesn't have a lot of water to evaporate because it's above land. So that's going to be pretty dry. Okay? So those are our two moisture content abbreviations. Continental is dry, maritime is moist. Those are the only two options. It can only be wet or dry. There's no really in between. Okay? Now we get into our temperature. T stands for tropical. Yay! Tropical, you guys think of tropical weather, tropical climates. Tropical is warm. That's a nice, warm place. So an air mass that forms in a tropical environment, let's say the Gulf of Mexico, down by Mexico, it's very warm down there. So that air mass is going to be very warm. Opposite of tropical, we have polar, right? Think about polar. Think about polar bears. Think about anything else that is polar. Think of the North Pole. What do we know about the North Pole, guys? It's cold. Okay. Polar things are cold. Tropical things are warm, right? Polar bears live in cold environments. There are no tropical bears, but if there were, they would live in warm environments. Okay. And finally, our last letter is A. A is Arctic. Arctic is even more cold than cold. Arctic is very cold. Okay. So for our temperatures, we have our three abbreviations: T for warm, polar, P for cold, and A for Arctic for very cold. Most of the time, we only use tropical and polar. We very rarely use Arctic. Okay, so here we go. Now we got a little kind of real life example. We have two air masses here. This one is formed North America. It's forming kind of like up in Canada here. What do we know about Canada? Is Canada hot or is Canada cold? Also, is Canada a continent or is Canada an ocean? Canada the ocean? No. So we know that this is, how can I do this?
Canada is cold.
Canada is cold. I'm trying to figure out how I can draw on this thing.
Wait, Canada depends.
Okay, I cannot draw on this thing. I don't know why. Yeah, Canada is cold and Canada is dry. So this is going to be a cold air mass, which is P, and a dry air mass, which is C. So this is a CP air mass. I've got a little symbol here for a pen. Oh, there we go. Excellent. So this is a CP air mass. C for continental, because it's forming over land, and P for polar, because it's forming in Canada, which is cold. Okay. Down here, who else is here? Okay. Down here, we got one, it's forming, it actually forms down here in this watery area. Okay, this watery area, this is the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, so this is forming in a watery area, not the continent. So this is going to be an M air mass. Okay, and what do we know about Mexico? Is Mexico hot or is Mexico cold?
It depends.
Okay, what is it mostly, Ethan?
Hot.
Yeah, it's mostly hot. So this is going to be a maritime because it's forming over the ocean, and a tropical because it's forming down south. So this is a maritime tropical, an MT air mass. Right? We were just able to describe these based on where they formed. Right? This one is up here and on the continent, so it's probably a CP air mass. This one's down here in the south on the ocean, so it's going to be an MP air mass. Okay. And again, here's just a bigger map of where we can expect different air masses to form. These MTs, they're forming over the ocean, down south where it's nice and warm. These MPs also forming over the ocean, but up north where it's cold. Okay, we have this CT here. It's kind of forming down in like Arizona, northern Mexico. This is continental because it's forming over land, and tropical because it's really hot down there. And then here we have CP because it's forming over the continent, and polar because it's cold. And then CA, it's really dry up here. Even though it's not all land up here, there's a lot of ice up here, so we don't really get the evaporation from the ocean. So this is going to be a CA air mass. Okay. And I think that's going to be it for today. What else we're going to talk about is one more thing. Let me update my attendance really quick. Is going to be our project for this week. So our project for this week has actually changed a little bit. It is no longer, so I sent out that syllabus, that welcome letter at the beginning of the year. I decided to change that project. This one's going to be a little bit easier for you, a little bit easier for me too. So I'm going to go over to Schoology, and I'm going to view my course as one of you kids. Let's do that. Okay, course options.
Wait, sir, Mr. Chocolate, today's the
Yeah,
submission, right?
What's up?
Today's the submission for the week 2 project.
You've already submitted it, right?
But today's the like the last submission, right?
Yeah, I got your last submission. Sorry, I don't understand your question. We'll talk later, Ethan, okay? So what we're going to be looking at this week, this is week 3. Okay, so we go down to week 3. I'm going to open up that folder. And what we're going to be doing again is another web quest. Okay, this one, like I said earlier, it's got a lot more links to it, but each link is only 1 to 3 questions each. Okay, this is where you submit it. This is your assignment Dropbox. This is where you're going to submit your assignment. These are both the same document. One is just a Word document. The other one is just a PDF. Okay. And then down here, the weather web quest links are all of the links you're going to use in this web quest. Notice there are 17 links. That's a lot. But there's only 28 questions. So most links are just 1 question each. Okay. This here, this is your assignment. Before each set of questions, it's got a link to the site that you're supposed to use. So you can click on that link in the document, or you can click on that link here on the weather web quest links. And they're all labeled site 1, site 2, site 3, site 4. Okay? Just like with the matter and the density web quest, click on the link, find the information, type it in. One thing I do want to say is that when you're typing it in, if you're typing it in on a document, okay, notice what color am I typing this in on? That's black. That's really hard for me to see when I'm going through this trying to grade it. Please, please, please change the color to something else, okay? Blue, purple, red, literally anything besides black, okay? Make it easy for me to see, because when everything's black, it's really, really hard for me to see the answers.
Can I print it?
Yeah, you can print it and write it in pen. That's fine. That'll help me as well. But if you're just typing it in, please type it in something besides black. Okay? But this is just like the matter and density web quests. Click on the link. It opens up the link. Right here, we got a little link here describing air masses, which is what we went over today. Find out what an air mass is. We got the definition right here. And then go on to the next question. Okay? And then once you're done with those questions, here we have site 2. Click on site 2. Okay, here we've got some information here. Okay, find that information, type it in, go on to the next one. Okay, a couple of these are videos. They used to be Flash animations, but you guys can't look at Flash on your iPad. It doesn't work. So I recorded the videos and I uploaded them onto YouTube. Okay, so you can just watch those videos on YouTube.
Mr. Chocolate, what do you mean it doesn't work?
Flash does not work on iPads. So the first link that I gave that was in this web quest from a couple of years ago when I used it was something called a Flash animation. Flash is no longer supported by Apple. I can run it on my computer, but you can't run it on your iPad. So instead of making it something that only half of the students can look at, I just made it a video on YouTube that everyone can look at. Okay. Let me see. Anything else? I think that's basically it. As we go through this week, today I did air masses, which is really like your first 8 questions here. So if you just want to get going on those first 8 questions, because we did air masses today, go for it. Tomorrow in class, we're going to go over pressure, and I think probably wind belts and the jet stream. Wednesday, I guess we're going to go over Coriolis, and Thursday we're going to go over fronts. But really, like, this is just it's a web quest. You know, it's very self-guided. Go as far as you can go. If you can finish it before I even go over the stuff, like, great. You know, finish it before I go over the stuff. But you guys are all doing really, really well. So, you know, keep up the good work. If you have any questions about this week's web quest, just shoot me an email or a Schoology message. Okay?
Wait, Mr. Chocolate, there's only one project, right? Is that one?
It's just this web quest, yeah. This is it. Okay. It's 17 links, right? It's 28 questions, so it is going to take some time to do. But yeah, this is just the only thing for the week. All right. Okay. Any other questions?
All right, I'm just gonna go start that one.
All right, that's great. Yeah, if you guys want to get started on it, just go get started on it. If you have any other questions, Christian, I'm seeing that we sent a rocket to space to study Mars's weather. I didn't know about it. Did they just do that? That's really neat. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, like learning about the solar system. We learned about the solar system last week. Now we're learning about weather. Hey, other planets have weather too. Cool, I'm gonna look into that. That sounds really cool. All right, so if there's no more questions, I'm gonna hang on until 11:30. So if you guys have any questions, just type them in. If you don't have any questions, you guys can get started on the web quest. Like I said, I'll be here, so if you have any questions. Okay. All right, well, have a good day, everyone. I'll be here for the next 5 minutes. Like I said, though, if I'm not on this conference anymore, just send me an email or a Schoology message. Have a great day, everyone.